r/askReddit. What is the darkest thing you have kept from your partner? That I'm probably a bit codependent at this point. I think the pandemic brought that out of a lot of us. I hate that when my BF leaves for work in the morning. My wife is a professor at a college that went virtual during lockdown. My job did not. It was great to come home and have her there. Now she's back and there are days where I have to go to bed before she gets home. It does make me feel sad some days. My husband and I work together and spend like 98% of our time together. We have 2 cars and I haven't even used mine in like a year because we are always together. We have all the same friends and hang out together. Yesterday I had to talk my husband into going to watch football with friends without me because I had to work. Last time he worked when I was off, I literally sat on the couch watching the clock. I feel so thankful that we love to spend every minute together, but I realize it's totally unhealthy. My wife just got a new job and had to go to the office today for the first time in almost 2 years. I am still remote. I'm not sure what to do with myself. I'm listless. I miss her so much. Just taking a break from my day to go say hi to her, or walk the dog together over our lunch was what got me through the day. Now I know how everyone else felt going remote during the pandemic. I think most people in relationships probably are as well. As long as you're aware of it, it's probably not a huge problem. Just try to keep that awareness. Genuine ignorance here. Isn't the purpose of a relationship to depend on each other? What does codependency imply that's bad? It's the level that you depend on each other that makes it go from healthy to unhealthy. It's normal to want to be around each other, eat together, and want to cuddle on the couch while watching a movie before bed, while both of you still independently take part in hobbies, activities with friends, whatever. It's not normal to feel that you need to involve your partner in literally every aspect of your life, and if that's not able to happen, being at work, for example, then shit will hit the fan. This happened with my ex. She was entirely dependent on me and wanted to spend all the time together doing everything together, and I felt like I couldn't do anything on my own anymore. It indirectly made me alienate my friends and hobbies because I was terrified of making her annoyed or angry at me. I would essentially make myself unhappy and do things I didn't want to do to prevent conflict cause she's a pretentious bitch when she's annoyed with someone. All it did though was make me progressively unhappy throughout the relationship until I had a mental breakdown and left. She was so unhealthy for me, but yet I love her so much. Life freaking sucks. Social anxiety, and I absolutely hate dealing with banks, money, bills. I have a great fella of 10 years and all of our bills come out of his account, and I recently just closed my account and moved my pay to his. I'm defo dependent on him for that sort of thing, and I'm so glad I can trust him, but I'll never admit my shortfalls to my family. I'm 25 and don't use mobile banking or card. I get him to take out cash that I use each week. I don't have a limit or anything, I just get confused with it all. My husband is like you, and I enjoy handling all that, but someone pointed out recently how if something were to happen to me, my husband would be completely lost with the bills, etc. So maybe a good idea to go over that stuff just to be safe. That is a very good point, thanks. Sometimes I buy a chocolate bar when I go to the grocery store and eat it before I get home. Jail. Now. I've been running from the law since I've posted this. Pray for me. 1 prayer equals 1 chocolate bar. Not my GF now, but she didn't know the extent or details of my childhood struggles. She knew I grew up in the projects up until age 10, but I think because I never wore it like a badge of honor or carried myself in the stereotypical way of someone who would come from that environment, many people think I was unaffected. And I never bothered to share those details because I never wanted to make a sob story out of a situation that I was blessed to get out of and that many people are still currently in. But that living situation has taken a toll on me in various ways that I love to expound upon for those who are interested. Please explain more. I am interested. I haven't had consistent sleep in over a decade. I am currently only 19. Instances of waking up to sirens and gunshots and also never being comfortable in a bed. I slept in the same bed with my mom up until age 11. She made me and my sister do this because if something were to happen, i.e. a robbery, she could react faster and get us all out in one go, rather than go room to room and risk wasting valuable time. Even when I eventually got my own room, it took me a year to start actually using it. And even until this day, I yearn for a GF in part to be able to sleep again. Also, I can also be either incredibly clingy or incredibly distant at times, and I do think the lack of any degree of personal space for so long played a part. I grew up fatherless for a period of time due to his incarceration. When he did come back, he wasn't exactly grateful or appreciative, but rather incredibly angry. Not exactly with us, but with life itself, it seemed. I don't blame him, necessarily. He's had a rough go at life. But one distinct memory I have of him was him beating our cat with a flip-flop because she shitted on the floor and then literally tossing her outside and locking the door. I cried, went outside and just pet her for hours on the porch. And his overall attitude just made me not like him at all. I've grown to appreciate and love him now, but it took a ton of time and effort on my part to do so, while loving pretty much every else I do now was effortless. My sister was very depressed because our cousin was murdered around the corner from us. And I understand now once I got older, but I spent such a long time believing she did not like me at all because she was never really happy and incredibly distant. I always seemed like I was annoying her and an embarrassment to the few companies she'd managed to get. On top of that, she's 5 years older than me, so add the fact that we are always at two different points in life. It just was hard for me to connect with her until I reached my teen years and had a better understanding. I was always the youngest person of every friend group. I struggled finding my identity because I was always trying to impress people as a survival tactic, rather than actually showcase myself. I didn't want to piss the wrong people off and be harassed or even killed. Sounds extreme, but that's just how it is in that environment. And because of me being so young, I easily got into shit I wasn't supposed to be by just hanging around older friends. I've seen dead bodies, junkies, sex at an extremely young age, the list goes on. We had a terrible bedbug infestation for a while, and the slightest movement of hair on my body triggers the most uncomfortable chills through my body. Seeing some like a tiny fluff of black yarn or something makes my heart pound. I typically wore the same clothes multiple times in a week because we didn't have the money for full wardrobes, so I endured a ton of ridicule throughout elementary school by people who were supposed to be my friends. Hand-me-downs were mandatory, and since I was the youngest, would get them in the worst conditions, so I had to wear busted shoes and clothes often. Because I was the only boy in the household for so long, I didn't have another male figure to look up to. My older brother and I don't share the same mother, but share the same father. And he does not like me at all. Not because of anything I did, but rather he hates our dad and I'm viewed as an extension of him. So I spent years as a kid and early teen thinking that I did something wrong for him to have not seen me in years. And in that environment, him being there for me would have been so helpful. He was still a kid himself, so I don't hate him for it. It just hurts me to say that I do not care for my own brother. He just never wanted anything to do with me, so I stopped caring about it. My immediate family has always been looked at the scum of the family on my dad's side. My dad's side hates my mom because they wanted my dad to marry his first baby mother, even though she left my dad and they were on good terms, and thus hates my sister because she's very similar to my mom. They love me because I'm very similar to my dad in characteristics and mannerisms, I suppose, but I hate them because they hate my mom even to this day and were extremely abusive to my sister. And that honestly feels like the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on. Just know a random Redditor wishes you well and is proud of you. It sounds like you are processing your early years with a lot of insight and understanding of how the big things, environment, impacted the little things. Continue to be patient with yourself. I know this stuff is not always easy or pleasant to process and sort through, but it appears you are doing a fantastic job. Sending you well wishes and support. I'd like to add my best wishes too. All the best for the future, brother. It isn't how you start in life, it's how you end. Well, you sound very mature for your age, which is a sure sign of a difficult life. Growing up without a positive male role model is tough. You either have to teach everything to yourself from scratch or pick up bad habits from negative role models. Self-care is probably the most important skill to develop, and it's much easier to get into good habits while you are young. Brush your teeth, wash everything regularly, and learn to shave without cutting yourself, giving yourself razor burn, or making a mess. What I like to do is use a hair trimmer on the stubble while regularly rinsing it in the sink, switch the head on the trimmer to a shaver. Do a pass with that while also regularly rinsing it, and then do touch-ups with the razor while applying cream to the razor, not your face. If you try to shave your whole face from scratch with a razor every time, you will frick up your skin. I blame Hollywood for portraying it wrong for so long. Thank you for sharing, and I'm so sorry you have to deal with this. I hope you're doing fantastic and are happy. Thank you so much. Happiness fluctuates, and I've gotten out of some very hard times, So I just cherish the high points and like to think there's no low point I can't get myself out of with enough patience, help, lots of tears, and even more laughs. I was sexually abused throughout my entire childhood and early teens. I've told one person this that I got close to earlier, and I woke up with her gone from my apartment. It really messed me up since I trusted that woman. Now I live with my beautiful so and never felt better, but I always have this thought in my head. I feel like it's something you should tell the girl you intend to marry, but not sure if I'll ever have the guts to do it. That first woman did you a favor. The right woman will be there in the morning. I just wanted you to know that. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I feel like it's something you should tell the girl you intend to marry, but not sure if I'll ever have the guts to do it. I think you're probably much stronger than you think. You're sharing your story here, and to me, that's something that already takes a lot of guts, a lot of honesty and courage. It has to be a really tough thing to open up about. I fricking hate D&D. It bores me to fricking tears. Yet I've orchestrates an elaborate lie that gives the illusion I love it as much as he does, and once a month I have to spend 5 hours sitting through a session bored to tears. I do this simply because it's one of the few hobbies in his life he gets to enjoy, and I want him to have someone to play it with. It's been going on for 5 years now, and I have no way out. Lol, it's okay though. The amount of joy I see he gets from playing it gives me comparable joy. So I don't mind that much. My boyfriend is into D&D as well, and I'm always asking questions about it just to allow him to be able to talk about his interests. Apparently none of his previous girlfriends showed any interest in his hobby before, so now he thinks he can eventually get me into it. Definitely not happening, especially after this comment lol, but I will continue to discuss it with him and listen to the D&D podcasts for sure. Edit. After seeing how many people are suggesting I give it a shot and thinking about how happy it would likely make him, I will not resist if he ever asks me to play. Thank you, ha. I play a lot of video games and my partner really is not about them. If anything, it's a blessing to me because I can frick off and do something without them for a while since we spend every other moment together lol. My bitch mother-in-law once told me not to take it the wrong way, but that she regretted having kids. My mom actually loves me, so it really pissed me off that she said this, and I know why my husband has major issues. Regretting having kids and not loving them is not the same. It can be, but it is not always equal. One of my good friends with an almost teenager son said he truly regrets having his kid when he did. He means it with all sincerity, as he feels it took away a lot of his freedoms, but he loves his kid and would do anything for him. Yay, nothing in this world chains you down like responsibility. This worries me. My dad says it to myself and my mother often, mostly randomly and for no reason other than to be hateful, and I couldn't imagine him saying it to my future husband. He would either think I am a horrible person for my dad to say such a thing, or that I have serious mental issues for my dad to say it so often, and zero remorse. My response to him used to be to say, I wish you did too. I wouldn't have to be here with you. Now it ranges from completely ignoring it and letting him go on an unwarranted long rampage about how much he hates his life and meeting my mom and having kids was the biggest mistake of his life, to me now saying, that's your own fault and problem. Not mine. Your choice, your problem. I mostly ignore because when I say, your mistake, he'll just further list things he wish would have happened, such as aborting me or wishing he died in his accident. You can't help people like that. They don't change. They're just miserable at life. He definitely has had a hard life and the stacks against him, but his mouth is the exact reason he will die alone, his biggest fear. Nothing but his own fault. Wow. Sorry to hear that. My dad isn't really nice either, but you win on this one. When I have that feeling that I've been left out by my parents, I try to think that you don't choose your family, and B, it is them that doesn't deserve you. Don't let yourself be defined by their attitude. Trying to be a better person than them is a big win for me. At least, you learn from them things not to say or do. Be strong, man. Agreed. He always says he tried to give us a better life, but doesn't realize all the vacations don't make up for all the horrible shit he says. In my opinion, words hurt more than actions. Actions are mostly rash and done without thinking. I can easily forgive actions because 9 times out of 10 they weren't deliberate to hurt me, or it wasn't planned out to hurt me. It was just them being selfish in the moment and not thinking if it would hurt me. Words are planned out for the sole purpose of hurting the person you're saying it to, and you mean them for them to cause hurt, whether said in anger or calmly. I appreciate your kind words. I hope to be a better influence than him and be kinder to people I love most. I hooked up with a professor of mine in college, and after that she would pimp me out to her colleagues. That's not the label she would have given it, but that's what it was. Wait, so she would charge her coworkers to have sex with you? I don't think I fully understand. I never really asked, but I know for sure one of my encounters helped her get a book published. So there was some sort of quid pro quo at some point. How good are you at sex? I'm book publishing good. What was in it for you? Did she blackmail you or something? Or were you just happy to bang more teachers? It wasn't entirely without its benefits for me. I did have a lot of fun and I met a lot of interesting and successful people. But mostly I wasn't taken seriously as much more than a toy, and that's when it started losing its appeal for me. She farts in her sleep like a wild bear *************. Please stop upvoting. 12,500 so far and we share our email address. I have been deleting all day and she is about to come home from work. Yeah, my wife wakes up with ungodly stinking breath. She always wants a kiss and a cuddle when she wakes up, so I just take it on the chin, or in the mouth to be more precise. I never have the heart to tell her, especially when she is perfect in every other way. I know several people who ate very healthy but still had bad breath in the morning or late at night. I didn't tell them for years. Once day I decided to tell them as sweet and light as possible. They were surprised because nobody had told them before. They went to the doctor and all the bad breath were related to some stomach problems with bacteria and reflux. They are better now. Maybe this is a sign that something is not 100% okay with her and it's better that you find a way to tell her. It does not have to be a conversation about how this has happened all her life with you, but something recursive, for example. I am sure you can find the way. You are a good friend for telling them. Wish somebody would have pointed it out to me a lot earlier in my life. It's 'cause she's holding them in all day. My wife went into the office for the first time in a year or two last week. She said that holding in farts all day was incredibly difficult and not something she had been prepared for. This and having to use the work restroom are the main reasons I don't want to go back to the office. That place was gross. It's been nice only having to smell my own farts for the past year. This is from my POV, not Doofenshmirtz's. My father is an AIDS patient. He did not reveal it to anyone and married my mom. And as a result I was born unaffected. My mother also is unaffected. Happened in 2002. To clarify the doubt from my father, a DNA test was performed and I am his son but without the virus. Wow. How did it all come to light, if you don't mind me asking? Is he still around? That's heavy shit. Mom divorced him in 2017 when things got out of hand and the family interfered. He is still alive. He knew and didn't tell your mom. I'm sorry. I'm glad everything apparently turned okay fine luckily, but he's a huge asshole. It is very fortunate that you are both unaffected. I knew a family where the mother got HIV from a blood transfusion. She and the husband were already married at the time, and had 3 kids that were all unaffected as well as her husband. Their kids were born in the mid to late 80s. I once found a very good little chocolate cake in the half-price section of the local supermarket. I originally bought it so I and the lady in the house could have it for dessert, but I ended up eating the whole thing myself. You devil. So it was a devil's food cake? Tell them. That's a funny story. This would be an absolute deal-breaker. You take the kids. I'm keeping the cake. I suffer from chronic depression. My so is super sweet and supportive, but I am afraid of unloading too much of my crazy on him. I keep dark thoughts and feelings from him all the time. I'd make him miserable if I didn't. He knows, by the way. I am not keeping all of it from him, just a lot of the excessive stuff. I am afraid of unloading too much of my crazy on him. I keep dark thoughts and feelings from him all the time. I'd make him miserable if I didn't. It's admirable of you to want to protect him, but as someone on the other side of this, it's better that you don't, for both of you. The worst feeling I have is that my GF hides this sort of thing from me for the same reason that you do. I only found out very recently how badly she was doing, purely because she didn't want to make me feel bad. It can be really hard to talk about this kind of thing, but seeing as you said he's very supportive, it's better to just tell him things than hide them. Doesn't have to be all at once, but communicate as much as you can. You don't need to be strong for his sake. Thank you. It is good to get your perspective. I will definitely think of ways to be more transparent, just not all at once, like you said. My GF of 4 years went shopping with her mom and never came back. Midnight I get a text. I love you but I'm not coming home. In the morning I'm blocked on everything, still haven't heard a word from her. She left all her stuff. Before anyone gets the idea, I never hit her. I didn't see it coming at all. We were having money problems but the relationship was great. If anyone reads this, please don't ever do this to someone. The amount of trauma and lack of closure is heartbreaking even 3 years later. I'm with you, man. Never ever fully trust someone with your feelings. You fall and you learn the hard way. Be strong. Long term you dodged a bullet here. I really don't like it when people say that. I mean, yeah, he dodged a bullet, but at what cost? 7 years committed to the wrong person is just sad. What good is taking 7 years to dodge a bullet? This is so sad, man. 7 years is a long time. Better than a lifetime with the wrong person that he isn't legally bound to. That's dodging a bullet. Not really. They were together 7 years and presumably it wasn't all bad. Everyone comes in and out your life when they are supposed to, and not every relationship is meant to last. Sounds like some astrology talk there. When they're supposed to. Haha, okay. I was born with only one hand. I have rheumatoid arthritis in the one hand I have, and I know it's spreading. I have osteoarthritis in my lower back and scoliosis to the point where I am most likely going to need spine surgery. I'm only 31 years old. I can't do this for another 50 plus years. I am in such bad pain now and it's only going to get worse. I have thought of suicide, but I can't do that to my husband and kids. I don't want my husband to turn into a caregiver. I can't envision not being able to take care of myself. Ew, I can help with this one. I'm an occupational therapist, has nothing to do with finding jobs, and what we do is help you retain your independence for as long as possible. There are all sorts of adaptive equipment and devices to help you do things you need to do every day: shower, bathe, dress, cook, clean, etc., and things that you enjoy doing. If you PM me with some of your issues, I'll be happy to make device recommendations. Also, for the back, I can't stress enough the benefit of a shower chair, handheld shower head, and long-handled scrub brush. Game changers. Just messaged you. I thought she liked cantaloupe. She thought I liked cantaloupe. So we had a lot of cantaloupe with dinner. Turns out we both don't like it. And so a lot of innocent cantaloupe had to die for your lies. It's a good thing you agreed, otherwise you can't elope. Not that dark, but I really did not like her wedding dress. Take that one to the grave or you'll be thinking your own username. Yes, absolutely do not tell her. My spouse confessed to me a few months after our wedding that he didn't like the wedding dress I spent months sewing myself. Everything else in our relationship is okay, but even almost 10 years later that shit still hurts. Oof, that's a bummer for sure. I actually like this. I put a lot of thought in mine, including what I thought my husband would like. I wore cowgirl boots BC. He mentioned he thought that looked cool. I picked out French lace and silk because he likes that, and honestly I do too. I just wish I were barefoot. The boots were awful. Edit. Still don't know his true thoughts on the dress. That I'm dying faster than she thinks I am. Why don't you tell her? There's nothing either of us can do about it. I have advanced COPD. A few months ago, I felt something change and didn't say anything about it. Everything suddenly got worse. It got much harder to breathe. The simplest things began to tire me out. But there's no point in complaining about it. We've both known it was coming for a long time. I try hard not to let it show, and she probably sees it more than she lets on. We just don't talk about it. I had a friend die unexpectedly this year. His wife and he knew he was in ill health, but it was still a horrific blindside and they were not ready financially or in regards to paperwork, etc. I really advise, if you're worried you're in a steep decline, do talk about it so you know she's ready, safe, and prepared for when you go. When she's gone for a while I relieve myself to her profile pictures instead of the nudes she's sent me. Must be a killer selfie. It's the duck lips, HNNG. A film actress I like, a porn star. That's adorable. If my boyfriend told me something like that I'd probably just laugh but be secretly incredibly confidence boosted. For me, nudes don't do anything, but wearing more suggestive clothing for sure does. IDK. Maybe you're the same way, but genitalia just doesn't do it for me. I often think of murdering a man in a gruesome and slow, agonizing death. This man was my mother's BF for about 8 years and he was raping my sister from the age of 12 to 17. When the rest of my family found out, it was devastating. It broke my family up for 2 years afterwards. I should point out that I would never actually do it. I have far too much to lose if I ever got caught. But the thought cheers me up if I'm ever angry and need something to help me calm down a bit. My wife was raped before we met, and there's not a day go by I don't think about how I'd kill the fricker who did it if I ever found out who it was. My BF was raped by a friend of his before we got together. He claims he's completely forgiven the friend, but I still occasionally fantasize about meeting the prick and beating the shit out of him. Exactly how bad of a person I used to be before I met her. She knows I was into the drugs and some other dumb shit, but she doesn't know the depths of depravity I delved to in order to fit in with the people I mistakenly wasted my time with. I can relate, dude. I am clean now, and sometimes a memory crosses my mind from the dark days and I get chills thinking how if my wife, parents, siblings ever found out they'd never be able to look at me the same. Feel like I'm living a lie sometimes. 0/10 would not recommend. Edit. Just want to say thanks to anyone who left a comment or DM'd me with kind words. Had a rough day yesterday and it was a really nice surprise waking up this morning and reading everything. Really truly made my day, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. To anyone struggling with kicking alcoholism or drug addiction, don't give up and always keep battling. It is a long, painful road, but I promise you that it gets better. We can't change our past, but the future is yours to shape how you want it. Never stop fighting. Hey man, I don't know your life, but we aren't defined by our low times. It's so tempting to feel like, how I am, was at my worst is the real me, but it's not true. We are all the sum of many experiences, emotions, and traits. You get to pick which ones define you, and the people who love you, they love you for a reason. A legit and awesome reason. Just got me thinking, I guess. Have a solid Monday. Same here, did drugs, got really bad. Starting when I was 14 years of age till into my early 20s. Had a GF who did the same and shit got really bad. I'm talking a lot of drugs, and a lot of bad things to get my hands on it. Meet my current GF while I was still doing drugs and in the toxic relationship of 7 years. Fall in love, ditched my GF of 7 years and started dating the current GF, stopped everything cold turkey. Ditched all my contacts, half of my family contacts, contact with the ex. Moved in with her and here family 160 km away from home. 8 years later we have our own home and get married in 5 weeks. She knows I did do some drugs, but that's it. If it weren't for here I would be in a very dark place right now. Kudos for turning around your life. Homie pulled the e-brake and did a full 180. Fricking inspirational. He wanted to find a shark tooth so badly after I found one at the beach. So I went and bought a small bottle of shark teeth from the gift shop, spread them out all over a strip of beach we were hanging at and marveled at every shark tooth he brought me. I can never tell him the truth. Suicidal ideation. I am a really introverted person, and talking about things doesn't really help me. I live a blessed life for the most part, but in the last couple years I've become really jaded. I'm not suffering, more that I just don't see the point of continuing. Everything is just gray. I took out a really good private life insurance policy a couple years ago, and it covers suicide. My policy's suicide clause and contestability provision is up, so they'll be taken care of for life. I took the last year as a sabbatical and I've spent it entirely with my wife and kids, just making memories and doing the things I enjoy. You sound a lot like my husband. He told me about his chronic suicidal ideation about 3 months ago. He only told me after his thoughts had progressed to a really scary and dangerous place. Leaning that he'd make sure that his life insurance covers suicide did not make me feel any better. I desperately wish he had told me about his suicidal thoughts years ago. It hurts that he tried to protect me from the truth for so long. I love him and don't want him to have to exist alone in a gray world. I want him to be able to really live with me and in full color. For what it's worth, it does seem like this might be possible for him, now that he's getting significant professional help. I wish for the same for you and your family. I have the same problem as your husband. I decided to stay single years ago. I can't submit another person to the morass that is my life. I will say your husband is lucky to have someone so strong by his side. That there is literally nothing about myself that I actually like, and I honestly have no idea what he sees in me. My body is a mess. I try and compensate by being the best partner I can be. I don't like my face, my scars, my skin, my body, the way nothing really works at any given time. I've managed to get to a neutral view of myself, meh, if you will. Just once I'd like to feel like the most sexy and beautiful woman in a room, when there is more than one woman present. I worry that I'm holding him back from someone better, healthier, more attractive. He'd be a great father, but I don't want biological children. I've been upfront about it, and I think I am depriving him of something. I know all of the above is his choice and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All the men I've been with before him, only 3, made it crystal clear they were with me because I was nice, supportive, safe and convenient. Because I put up with their bullshit. They weren't actually attracted to me, just what I could do for them. I made them feel good about themselves. I felt like they weren't really attracted to me, and when we broke up, it turned out to be true. My marriage ended in a dead bedroom. We had sex because they felt obligated, which really messed with my head. My first serious boyfriend cheated on me with my very attractive friend for months. Neither of them complimented me without prompting. Even then it was, "You look fine, let's go." I've been laughed at and ignored in lingerie. I told my ex in counseling that they made me feel unwanted, unattractive, unloved, uninteresting. They said, "I guess I could see how you feel that way." It's hard to build confidence when my whole life has been about what's, objectively, wrong with me. When everyone around me, including my romantic partners, compliment everything except my appearance. Now I'm in my mid-30s and this is the first one who I think might actually be attracted to me. It feels too good to be true. Just a piece of advice from a guy in his mid-30s that has felt the same way you feel on a daily basis also. I met someone I couldn't pass up a once-in-a-lifetime chance with and made a conscientious choice to not put my insecurities on her. I hid it all. I act emotionally strong, independent, confident, attractive, etc. What I've learned is if you act that way long enough, people will start viewing you as such and you'll start finding your self-worth. You may not be the best-looking person in the room. I've never been, but I landed a beautiful girl inside and out, gained a little of everything I lacked because I faked it for the past 5 years. I'm still insecure. I still know I'm not the easiest on the eyes. I know I'm bigger than some people and have bigger tits than my wife. But what I do know is, I'm a good, honest person, a great father, and treat everyone great. I deserve the best because I treat people well. You will also get there. Demand the best because you know you're worth it. If they don't see that or you feel they're not that into you, kick them the frick out of your life and find someone who treats you that way. Don't let your insecurities destroy a good thing. Start faking it. Wear lingerie and be sexy. If he laughs, laugh with him. It'll make a funny memory. If he's laughing in a rude way, kick him to the fricking curb. You got this. Make this life your bitch. Just how much I depend on her. For our first 8 or so months of marriage, my wife and I were never apart due to moving around and being in lockdown. Even now we're hardly apart since we both work from home. She doesn't know just how sad I get when she goes away. I miss her so much, and all I really want to do is curl up on the bed and wait for her to come back. I lose my smile, I lose interest in all my hobbies, everything. Once she gets back though, I'm alright again. Edit. Jesus Christ, I didn't expect that reaction. For those of you suggesting that I'm a dog, haha. It's a funny joke. For those of you suggesting that I have abandonment issues, I probably do, and she knows about it. I'm going to therapy soon, but fricking hell, my marriage is not on the rocks. My wife and I are very happy together. We love each other more than ever, and believe it or not, she kinda feels the same way. We're both clingy, but that's fine. We like being around each other. Is that really a bad thing? We're both kinda introverted. We're both homey, so I honestly don't see it as the biggest problem in the world. Regardless, I'm gonna work on it, but fricking hell, you people can be judgmental assholes. Oof. This one is kind of concerning. I dated a guy like that, his whole happiness was tied to me. Turns out that doesn't make for a healthy relationship. For the sake of your marriage, you should talk to somebody about that. Same here, and when we broke up he was a mess. He relied on me for absolutely everything, including money and friendships. Nothing was healthy about this at all. He basically stalked me after. He threatened suicide regularly. He was out of control. Okay buddy, I am just going to say it. This is not healthy and could ruin your relationship in the long run. Very clear abandonment issues. A talk with a therapist would be for the best. Don't let this escalate. I didn't really connect this, but I think you're right about the abandonment issues. In the earlier time of my relationship, I didn't used to feel this way with my partner. I missed him and felt like he equally missed me, and I was able to handle his being away just fine. Now I have begun to feel like it doesn't make much of a difference to him whether I'm around or not, despite how he may actually feel, and I've begun to feel how Up feels. I make plans and do things because I know I should, but mentally I'm not present. I didn't really connect it until your comment. That's helpful. Or, get this. He loves you and knows you love him, and he knows you're going to be there when he comes home, and that certainty allows him to do the shit that needs to be done in a positive and healthy mindset so he doesn't give you any unneeded stress. People talk like being dependent on being around their loved one is an issue. I say it's a carryover from when we were hunter-gatherers or pioneers. Families would leave an established town and strike out to claim new lands. Do you think there was jobs and all kinds of other shit to keep our attention? Only family and cultivating the land, all of which was together constantly. Just a thought. My ex's baby daddy wanted me to speak to him on the phone once to apologize for something I did that offended him. I obliged, but refused to apologize because I did nothing wrong. He then spent 30 minutes accusing me of being a pedophile for saying I love his daughter, who is a toddler, BT dubs, and I love her like a daughter, which I specified several times. Bragged about farming her, my ex, out to other dudes, how that's something to be proud of, I'll never know, and even admitted to raping her, my ex. Of course he denied what he did was rape, but I made her frick me even when she didn't want to, is the literal definition of rape, dumbass. I asked her never to tell me where he lives because the only thing stopping me is the knowledge that I would go to jail for a very long time. Edit. For clarification, I sincerely hope you informed the authorities. She already did. They didn't do anything. How incredibly sad. I hope you can all heal from this. I had a total mental breakdown in 2017 caused by stress. Never told anyone. It's the worst my mental health has ever been, and I'm afraid of getting like that again and not getting help. It was 2017 for me too. This year I think I finally made a full recovery. 4 fricking years, and it seems just like yesterday. It still scares me how fast your mental health can go sideways. Having been in your situation, I propose that you do the following. Make an emergency care kit now. Think of what brings you peace. Even if you don't assemble the movies, books, puzzles, etc., at least have a list somewhere of safe ways to escape. Since you can think logically right now, set a plan that includes a list of danger signs and steps to take when you see these signs. Also set goals to practice self-care to prevent another break. This includes regular, daily practice things such as exercise and deep breathing, as well as measures to calm yourself after a stressful day or event. Self-care looks different for everyone. Google it to get a variety of ideas to de-stress. Good luck, my friend. You are not alone. I'm from South Louisiana and my dad is in a Mardi Gras crew. Every year he's on a float throwing beads. My husband has never been to Mardi Gras, so his first time he was so excited, and it was at my dad's parade. Normally people on the floats throw the good beads to kids or women that will flash them. I told my husband that if you yell, "Throw me something, mister," loud enough, the people on the float will give you the good beads. I told my dad, and he told his float buddies. When their float came around, my husband was screaming like a banshee, "Throw me something, mister." My dad and his friend pelted my husband with their best beads. When we were leaving the parade, my husband was flexing all his nice new beads and thinks Mardi Gras is the best thing ever. Didn't have the heart to tell him that I told my dad to do that. He just thinks that because he was so enthusiastic, he got all the good stuff. That's the sweetest thing ever. My father killed himself when I was a teen. He was a single divorced 40-something who was deeply unhappy. There were over 100 people at the funeral. My older brother was most affected. His life is a mess, and a few drinks show how messed up he is. He gets very emotional and wants to talk about it. I was daddy's girl. I was the favorite. I have many fond memories of our relationship. But he killed himself. He didn't want to exist, so that's how I treat his life. As far as my friends are concerned, I just never mention him, and they don't know what happened to him. My younger brother seems to have missed the worst of it, or like me is just real good at hiding it, but made some pretty stupid decisions on the way. We all got a decent payout for it and spent it differently, but we are hardly set up. Nothing compensates for what we are actually missing, and now with grandkids arriving, he would have made an excellent grandpa. I wish he had stuck it out. I think his life would have improved a lot as we grew up. Ending it. just started something else for all of us. Don't do it. That second to last sentence really hit me for some reason. Sometimes I think about suicide and I always feel like my family would probably be sad for a while, but I've never considered longer-term effects. I think that has effectively guilted me out of considering it as an option anymore. How bad my last suicide attempt was before meeting him the next year. I had a full meltdown in my apartment and took all of my pain meds, chronic patient. I was so high I sent out business-like emails and wrote my will on a Wendy's napkin. I started convulsing and got in the bathtub. I was afraid to leave a mess for anyone who found me. I ripped down the shower curtain to line the tub and climbed in with my favorite blanket and stuffed animals. I sobbed and thought about everything in my life that bothered me. I just laid there for God knows how long, drinking shitty vodka and fading in and out. I apparently responded to some of the messages from my love interest at the time and my best friend. She noticed my wording was weird and not at all like how I normally write. She called me and threatened to call M's. She told me I had to throw them up or she would call my dad too, who lived 2 streets over. I'm terrified of inconveniencing people, so I threw it all up. She took her mom's truck without permission and drove to my apartment an hour away while on the phone with me. I don't remember much, but I woke up feeling horrible in the ER. The nurse said she ran into the lobby carrying me and screaming I wasn't breathing. It must have been 100% adrenaline because she's 8 inches shorter than me, and I'm not light. It was bad to say the least. My husband knows I tried to hurt myself by overdosing, but I told him it didn't work and my best friend tucked me into bed. I don't have the heart to tell him the truth. Posted this before, but I never told my wife that her mother tried to have sex with me. It was early in our marriage when we were living with her to save money for our own place. Her marriage of 28 years had ended badly and she was emotionally fragile. She was very drunk and was absolutely horrified at what she had done when she sobered up. I promised not to ever tell my wife and I never did, even when she and I were fighting near the end of our marriage. Some things are too cruel to do, even when you're trying to hurt each other. She's my ex now, but she had just revealed to me some very, confidential information. Info I understand I'm one of only 4 people to know. She asked me if I have any deep secrets like that. I lied and told her I didn't, but the truth is, my grandmother by marriage, no blood relation, sexually harassed and abused me as a preteen and teenager. Literally nobody IRL knows. I've never told anyone. I've read that if a child or adolescent doesn't tell someone after the first time it happens, they keep the secret out of guilt of allowing it to happen to them again. Saying it out loud perhaps brings the realization that a huge reaction is now going to happen and many don't want to face it. It's really tough, and I so hope you know that it's not your fault and it's a burden you just shouldn't have to bear. It's true. At least for me. For 25 years I kept it a secret. Part denial, part guilt. The dark line, if you tell someone you will be in trouble, too, does wonders on a child. In ignorance, it influenced my later decisions in life and I was clinically depressed before I was a teen. Still hasn't gone away. Now I'm 33. Because I never told anyone, I never got any help. I finally broke the wall last year, after everything else had fallen. Wouldn't you know it? No one believed me. Very important to teach your children early. Secrets like that will rot your soul. I'm really sorry after all that time no one believed you. I believe you. One word of advice who went through something similar at the age of 14. Give yourself space from the people who don't believe you, especially if they are calling you a liar or delusional. At 27, my entire extended family on my dad's side has labeled me delusional, crazy and a liar. Because I wouldn't shut up about my abuse at 14. Their train of thought was, if I didn't scream and cry when it first happened, then it didn't happen. Obviously, this is a horrible way to think about child abuse, especially if it happened multiple times. You don't need people like that dragging you down. Take the time to distance yourself and surround yourself with a network of people who do believe you. Heal, take care of yourself, and know that your truth and reality is real. You can look through my post history for inspiration. It's pretty dark, but I just want you to know that you are not alone in this. You are heard, and I believe you. I appreciate your support. I am equally as sorry for what happened to you. Unfortunately, the people who don't believe are not ones I can simply get rid of. My parents, they are not calling me delusional or a liar. Just simply stating that their memory of events differs from mine and therefore mine doesn't make sense. I was 8 and it was a teenage, 16, neighbor. They apologized, but you can tell they still don't accept it, and even if they did, there is nothing they can do now. So now it feels like a blow to their parental pride that they let something like that happen. They don't want to disbelieve me, but accepting it would mean disbelieving their own memory. They were good parents and I forgive them and am not angry. Relieved to have it out after all this time. Suicidal thoughts are a mood killer. My husband told me about his lifelong suicidal ideation about 3 months ago. He only told me after his thoughts had progressed to a really scary and dangerous place. I desperately wish he had told me about his suicidal thoughts years ago. It hurts that he tried to protect me from the truth for so long. I hope you're able to find the courage to tell your partner, and I hope they're able to respond with the kind of support that you need. It's hard and I'm not perfect at it, but I'm doing my best. Edit. Confusingly worded sentence. I hope you know that he gets lied to pretty often by his brain. This isn't even that bad. Other people go through this all the time. Am I just weak? She wouldn't be interested. Maybe if you weren't so completely worthless, this wouldn't be happening. If you tell her, she'll just leave anyway. Depression is a brutal disease, and the most visible symptom is a suicide attempt, or completion. Its best weapon is convincing you that you are isolated and disconnected, and that no one is or will be interested in hearing you. I don't know if this counts as a suicidal thought, but sometimes, when I'm feeling especially hopeless, I imagine how much easier his life would be if I just disappeared. Not necessarily kill myself or anything, but just like stopped being a part of his life. All my adult life, I've felt like a parasite. When we were dating, he had to go out of his way to help me so many times. Now that we're married, he's paying for my college debt, my terribly financed car, and everything else in our lives while I struggle to find a job that pays more than $10 an hour. He's had to sit through my progressively worsening state of mind, and, although he doesn't say it, I know there are some things he wishes he'd done before settling down. I love him, but I hate that I've taken so much from him and given so little in return. Edit. I just realized I posted this as a comment on someone else's comment and not as a comment on the original post. Commenter above me, I am so sorry. I don't know what you're going through, but I hope you are getting help and that you see the love from your partner as a reason to keep going. Edit 2. Thank you everyone for the very kind words. I woke up to all this positivity and now I'm just tearing up over it. Thank you. I am starting therapy soon. Currently in the process of finding the right therapist for me. And it's all thanks to him. I'd never leave him. I love him very much and know that he loves me just as much, if not more. As of right now, I'm afraid to talk to him about this because I'm not sure I'd be able to express how I feel without sounding like I want a divorce, which I don't. I'm hoping therapy can help me maneuver through it. Again, thank you for all the kindness. I wish you all a lovely day. I'm in a similar place to yourself with my wife being where you are at. Speaking for myself, I can say that I don't think of my wife as a burden, as it is a great sadness that the person I love so much isn't happy. Helping the people you love is an important part of life, and it also feels meaningful where a modern lifestyle often feels meaningless. The hardest part of living with my wife is that she's just not happy no matter how hard I try to make her life a happy one. That's just not how these things work. I can, and do, make her feel loved and valued, but you can't ever just make someone happy or magically fix their inner life. Of course you feel like a burden, but that's probably not how he relates to it. At least I don't my relationship. He loves you, that's what love is. You're his everything. Thank you. When I think like this, I keep myself busy by doing things that are helpful. It helps and I'm able to look back on the day and feel useful. Still a shitty feeling though. My GF feels like you sometimes. Good thing she shared her concerns with me so we could address it. I'll tell you what I told my GF back then. I'm able to keep going because I know I have you backing me up. I'm sure you're more important to your so than you think you are, and talk to him about this, it will help. I'm prone to addiction and I abuse my Adderall prescription. Hey, IDK about you personally, but I learned after years of abusing ADHD meds that I actually need them for my learning disability. Once I was regularly taking them, I stopped feeling so overwhelmed. Maybe this helps. Maybe it doesn't, but you aren't alone. Same here. I used to abuse Ritalin in high school, was not diagnosed and didn't know I had ADHD. Then had Adderall prescribed at 39 and went straight back to abusing it, and it was horrible. Switched to Vyvanse and it was much better, but by then my brain associated stimulants to drugs instead of treatment. I cycled through binging, quitting and starting again because I knew they worked for me. I just couldn't take it as prescribed. Luckily, I met a wonderful man to whom I opened up about my issues, and he's been helping me without judgment. Every morning he wakes up at 6 a.m. to give me my meds. I don't know where they are, and if I accidentally come across them, I let him know so he can change the spot. It's been a few months and I don't even get the thought of taking more pills in my head. I struggled through several very painful relationships and bad marriages before meeting hubby. We got married and blended together our families in somewhat of a chaotic whirlwind. The odds and lots of bets from family and friends were against us. For several years I waited for him to leave, and I think he was likely waiting for me to leave. We stayed together out of habit, familial obligation, and financial necessity for a while. No fighting, no yelling, no abuse, no infidelity. Just two very busy people with a lot to focus on. I often wondered if the relationship would survive the children growing up. We're empty nesters now, all the kids grown and living independently. For the first time since 1986 I don't have kids in the house. For him it's the first time since 1992. For the first time in our marriage, our focus is strictly on each other and not the kids. There's no yours or mine or even ours, it's just us. And we're having the time of our lives. We recently celebrated a wedding anniversary, and I woke up that morning and realized I am really married to my best friend and the love of my life. Patient, kind, not boastful, compassionate, gentle, enthusiastic. All those adjectives that make me puke when people read them at weddings have come to pass for us. We love each other more today than at any other time in our marriage. Feeling in love comes and goes. That adrenaline rush is impossible to maintain when you can hear him shit despite the closed bathroom door, and he sees the stray dark hair that grows on your boobs once you hit middle age. Loving someone is a structure that supports stability and comfort and peace that come from time and commitment. We each have to find our own way. In my experience, familiarity diminished the fireworks but built a foundation that taught me how to be open to loving and being loved. And it is scary as hell to love someone this much and risk being hurt and abandoned. I'm so very glad I showed up for this adventure. Her father once told me, if he could go back in time, he would never have dated her mother and have kids with her. Was pretty shocking thing to hear while on vacation with the whole step family. The guy has Asperger's, weird family. The girl left me cold turkey a few months later after 7 years together, and I still didn't even think about telling her that story. My mother posted this exact sentiment on Facebook publicly LMAO. When you say cold turkey, do you mean she just blocked you on everything and aborted all contact with you? She never said openly that her feelings were going downhills. Then, one day, she told me to come in the bedroom. Closed the door, didn't say a word, and just hugged my arm. I swear I felt her heartbeats pounding the side of my arm. At that exact moment I knew things were about to never be the same. I was going through a depressive phase. She was really trying to make me go better for a while. I guess I didn't listen enough, was too selfish for too long, and she got tired. Broke my heart big time. But now it's been a year and I completely turned my life around. I guess I needed the kick in the butt. I'm sure it wasn't easy for her either. Sometimes the only way to get over someone is to cut all contact rather than doing, oh, let's be friends, then the other person is hoping. She did you both a favor, really. Problem is, I never fully understood why she was over it in such short time. It wasn't due to a specific event. We never argued strongly. She told me that it wasn't easy for her, but at the same time I didn't see her shed a single tear. She just became really cold, like an actor getting out of character. I even wrote her a letter after a few months. But no second chance for me. Maybe I'm too sensitive, but I still believe that love is something that never truly fades out. Like a fire, it needs to be taken care of, and I get that I didn't for a while. I regret she didn't warn me earlier about it. Why keep everything to herself, then break up when it's too late? In her head, she had time to get over it because she knew maybe a week or more before me that it was gonna be over soon. I've recently had the same thing happen to me. Not as long though, 2 years, but yeah. One day we're talking about dinner and that's the last thing I talked about with her. Some people are really cold. Holy hell. Any ghosting after a date or two is wild to me. How can you do that to someone? Nice. You have made it to the end already. Thank you for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, please do so, as there will be more videos like this in the near future.